All right, today we have a 2000 Ford Focus. What's going on with it is the AC compressor, the pulley on the AC clutch has gone bad. So it's making all kinds of noise, and if it keeps going like this, eventually it'll throw the belt off and leave the customer stranded. So I wanted to let you hear the noise before we go take it apart, just so you know what to listen for. So I'm going to start it up real quick. If you can hear that noise, terrible grinding, clunking sound, it's the sound of the AC compressor clutch pulley gone bad. Okay, so you heard the noise it was making. What we're going to do is go ahead and replace the compressor assembly as well as the dryer on this car. And first thing we did, we already vacuumed down the AC system. Before you start on the repairs, what you want to do is bring it to a shop and have them evacuate the old refrigerant, so that way it's not vented into the atmosphere. So we went ahead and had that done, and so now we're going to go ahead and get started on it. First thing we're going to do is get it up in the air, or if you're doing it on the ground, you want to get it on jack stands. So we'll see you underneath the car. All right, the first thing we're going to do is take this shield off. This shield just protects the belts. There's two 10 millimeter bolts here. I'm going to go ahead and take these off, and we'll pull this shield out of our way. Okay, now we can see the belt. And what we're going to do is take this belt off. I don't know if that's a 15 or a 13. This belt is a pain in the buttocks. 13. Wow. Rain. Wonderful. Oh, that's not the tension. Okay. Dadgummit. Aha. Really? That's all the movement it has? That's not good. No way. Oh, okay, wrong way. Yep. All right, now it's just more humid. All right, what we're going to do now is take the belt off. The belt tensioner is right here on the behind the crankshaft pulley, and it takes a 15 millimeter wrench. So what I'm going to do is get this wrench on here, like so, and then when you push on it, you'll see the tension on the belt loosens up. So we're going to push on the tensioner, and at the same time, I'm going to pop the belt off the AC clutch. I'm going to try to leave everything else in place. In fact, I can leave that kind of there and it'll hold everything. So, and now with the belt off, you can really see what was wrong with this AC clutch. You see the pulley on here. I'm surprised that even spun at all. But that's the reason we're replacing this. So we're going to get this belt just pushed up a little bit more. Now the compressor itself is easy on this car. 1, 2. This whole thing is what we're working on. Let me get my sizes so I know what I have. All right, first thing I'm going to do is not take it off all the way, but I'm going to break loose the bolt on the back holding the manifold hose to the back of the compressor. It's just a 10 millimeter bolt here. I'm just breaking it loose for now while the compressor's still mounted, and I'll show you that'll save time later. So, okay, so that's broke loose. Now what I'm going to do is take off the connector, the electrical connector here, And there's just a little tab you pry on and it pops right off. So we'll let that hang out of our way. And now we have these 4 13mm bolts that hold the compressor to the engine block. So what I'm going to do is just take all 4 of those out now. Okay, on this last bolt, I'm going to go ahead and take it out, but as we go, we're going to want to support the compressor. You don't want it to fall. So you'll see as I'm taking the bolt out, I'm going to hold the compressor in place and then carefully start to lower it down, and then I'm going to unthread the AC hose by hand the rest of the way. Okay, now we're going to just kind of pull the compressor down, and you'll see on the back here is the 10mm bolt I loosened earlier. Can you see? Great. Can you see that? You probably can't. And the reason I broke it loose earlier is so we don't have to fight with trying to hold the compressor still and break it loose at the same time. So now we're just going to take it out the rest of the way. This might even be one where, yeah, on this one you don't even have to take the bolt out all the way. It's got a slide in it where you can slide it out. But anyway, here's our old compressor. You can see it's just completely gone. So we're going to go ahead and get our new parts all lined up, and we'll be right back with you. All right, you can see here our new compressor we got lined up next to our old one. We got our new parts from apdty.com. Our new compressor, it comes pre-filled with oil. That's what this yellow sticker here is, so we don't have to add any additional oil to it. I'll take that off. And then we take off the sealing cap here, and you'll see it'll have 2 new O-rings. Well, it should have 2 new O-rings under there. There's one, there's the other one. And we'll just take this off. And we just need to transfer this bolt from our old one to our new one.
Why using the old bolt? I mean the new bolt.
Because it's shorter. And now we can go ahead and set it up in the car. First thing we'll do is just like, we're going to do it exactly backwards of how it came apart. I'm going to start by putting the hose on. I'm going to do it just like it came apart. And we're losing oil. Oh, jeez. No. And we're going to go ahead and tighten this down. Need to make sure that's seated in there real well before you tighten it completely. Okay, and we'll snug that a little bit more once it's in the car. And again, I'm supporting it the whole time just so we don't have all the weight of the compressor on these hoses. Now we're gonna snake it back up inside, up to the mounting bolts there, and get one of these started. And I'm just gonna go around and put all 4 of these bolts back in, just like they came out. All right, we've got the compressor all bolted back up. I got our plug back in. I'm gonna go ahead and put the belt back on. And got my wrench on the tensioner just like it came off. Make sure everything's lined up. And we are on. Okay. Last step is going to be to tighten down this bolt on the hose bracket again. Okay. All right. And that is replacing the compressor. Next we're going to move on to, I'm going to show you how to replace the dryer assembly, because anytime you replace the compressor, you want to replace the dryer as well. Well, anytime you open up an AC system, you want to replace the dryer, really. So let me get ready and we'll show you that here in just a second. Okay, now you can see we're still underneath the car. This is under the passenger wheel well, is the AC dryer assembly, or accumulators, technically what it's called. There's this hose right here. It's got a 13 millimeter nut holding it in place, and there's another hose up top, which I'll show you better in a minute, which has a spring lock fitting. So I'm going to begin by taking off the 13 millimeter nut holding this hose on to get that out of our way. All right, before I take off, our next fitting is up there, but before I get to that, I'm going to go ahead and loosen the dryer assembly from the frame. You've got two 10 millimeter bolts here. I'll go ahead and take those out, and then that'll get the dryer itself loose. All right, I got one of the bolts out of the accumulator, the one that went right here. There's another one tucked behind this bracket. There's a couple ways of getting it out. You can either take this bracket off, or if you get just the right length socket, you can snake it in there and get to it. Or you could probably even just put a regular wrench right in here and just go a little bit at a time. So it looks hard to get to, but just getting the right tools will make it easy on you. Okay, we got one more 10 millimeter nut up here on the side. They didn't want this dryer going anywhere, that's for sure. All right, so our next step is going to be to disconnect the this other fitting up here. It's got what's called a spring lock. First you have to take off this, it's a safety clip thing. It just pulls straight off. See, it just slides over the junction there. And just take that off out of the way. Now there's actually a special tool called a spring lock remover, or quick disconnect tool. There's a bunch of names for it. But anyway, what this does, you slide it over the fitting, and then it pushes up into the spring lock. In theory. There we go. Once it pushes up in there, I'll show you again here in just a second on how that worked. Oh, no, it didn't work. Hang on. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay. The way that works, on the end of this line right here is it's called a spring lock, and it clamps over this thing. It's actually got a spring on it that holds it tight. The way you take this off, you take this tool and you slide it around the line there, and you can see it's got this lip in here. When you pull this up, you kind of twist it and pull it all the way up, You can see it comes right to the edge there. What that does, that releases the spring enough so that it'll slide over that lip. So you just slide it up in there, you pop it up over the spring and you pull down on it, and then that's what frees it up. So that's how you replace that. So here's our old accumulator. I'm going to compare it with our new one that we got from Apdty. Here's our new one. You can see it's a little bit different shape, but overall everything's still the same. One other thing to point out, this is where the low side pressure fitting hooks up when you're adding refrigerant or checking the system pressure. It's hard to get to, it's up underneath the car. So when we go to fill up the system again, this is where we hook up. What we're going to do now, all you have to do is, it just literally slides right over there, and just kind of twist it, and you push it, and you'll eventually feel it snap. There it goes. When that spring lock clips on. See if I can get some light on there so you can really see it. You want light? So there's our spring lock. You can actually see the spring in there. The spring is right inside that gap there. And that is the spring that we released to break the thing loose. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get this thing mounted back on the frame bolts and put our nut and bolts back on there. One thing you'll see me doing is I'm transferring over these little clips. They're it's like a nut built into a clip, and it just slides onto the new accumulator where the bolt goes, so that when I go to put it together, you'll see it'll end up like that. These things came off the old accumulator, so you just pop them off the old one and put them on the new one. All right, our last step here, we're going to reconnect this one line going to the accumulator. And we're going to tighten that nut down. Our accumulator's installed and our compressor's installed. Last thing, oh, can't forget the safety clip on the spring lock fitting. That just snaps right back over there we go, the fitting just like so. So, all right, now it's all set. Okay, our last step before we evacuate and recharge the system is, or vacuum down and then recharge the system. We're going to replace the orifice tube, which on this car is mounted on the high pressure line right along the firewall. And you can get to it from either up top or down below. If you have a lift, it's easier from underneath. Otherwise, you have to kind of fight with it from above the hood, or under the hood. I already loosened this nut here. We're going to take that off, and then this line should just separate. And then our orifice tube should be right inside there. Okay, you can see inside the line here is the very end of the orifice tube. Now when I show you that compared to the new one here, you can see that's the end of it there. So what I'm going to do is just pull that out with some needle nose pliers and slide the new tube in. It's going to be difficult to see, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and I apologize if you're not able to see it very well. All right, we've got our new orifice tube slid in. You just push it in place. and then we line our fitting, or line back up, and we tighten it down. And that is it. All we have to do now is evacuate and recharge the AC, and we will be all done. So we got our compressor replaced, we got our dryer replaced, we got our orifice tube replaced, and now all we have to do is refill the system. So we would show you that. We've actually got a couple other videos where we show you how to vacuum down and then refill a system. So if you have any questions, just check those out. But other than that, we are all set. So we appreciate you watching.